What's up everyone and welcome back to the MMA Zone. Today, let's get started with Alex Pereira reveals shocking news. While Sean Strickland was sitting atop the middleweight division, Alex Pereira made it clear that he wouldn't move back down to 185. Now, however, with Dricus du Plessis sitting atop the division, Pereira has opened the door to a potential return. After du Plessis' big win on Saturday at UFC 297, Pereira took to social media, writing, "Maybe one last rodeo at middleweight." Pereira had recently just teased a record-breaking year prior to UFC 297, indicating that he would look to defend his light heavyweight title against Jamal Hill before then setting his sights on breaking Ronda Rousey's record for the quickest turnaround between title defenses. While Pereira's plan didn't include a move to 185, with du Plessis now sitting atop the division, it sounds like his plans just might have changed. Although some have called for a rematch between du Plessis and Strickland, and Khamzat Chimaev believing that he deserves a crack at the title, the champion indicated that a fight between he and Israel Adesanya is the next move. Despite the 5-round war with Strickland, du Plessis indicated at the post-fight press conference that he wouldn't rule out a fight between he and Adesanya for UFC 300. With Alex Pereira now potentially in the title picture, while he waits for Jamal Hill to recover, it'll be interesting to see how things play out at 185. Next up, let's take a look at Dricus du Plessis reacts to Dana White's interview. Following 5 hard-fought rounds in the main event of UFC 297, UFC CEO Dana White indicated that he scored the contest in favor of Sean Strickland. While speaking with media members about the bout, however, White explained that although he scored the fight for Strickland, other people around him scored the bout in favor of du Plessis.
It's funny, we were just looking at how the media had scored it, and right down the middle. I had it 2-2 going into the last round, and I thought Strickland won the last round. Guys who were sitting at the same table had it the other way, and it was a close fight. I thought Strickland looked great in the first 2 rounds, and I had it even going to the 5th round. I'm like, this is the round, see who wants it, and they both started to turn it up a little bit.
After White left the stage, du Plessis made his way to the post-fight press conference, where he spoke with media members about the fight. After being asked about the close contest, the newly minted champ responded,
"Just so for the record, is there some people that think I lost the fight?" Dana said it? Well, bullshit.
As DDP explained earlier in the press conference, although the fight was close, he was confident that he did enough to get the nod.
Yeah, I thought I did enough to win the fight. It was definitely a close fight. I definitely gave him the first round, and I made the necessary adjustments to, in the 5th round, I didn't give him the round. I thought at the end, I don't know how they scored it, to be honest. Listen, it was a close fight. I'm not going to lie.
Given how close the fight was, with a big victory, Sean Strickland could likely insert himself right back into the title picture. Next up, let's take a look at Joe Rogan leaks Conor McGregor information. For months now, the MMA community has continued to theorize that Conor McGregor would make his highly anticipated return at UFC 300. Despite that, McGregor himself announced on New Year's Eve that he and Michael Chandler would be fighting in June at middleweight, shutting down talk of a UFC 300 return. According to longtime commentator Joe Rogan, who spoke with UFC veteran Brendan Schaub, 10th Planet Jiu-Jitsu founder Eddie Bravo, and comedian Joey Diaz on a special Joe Rogan Experience watch-along for UFC 297, the UFC tried to get McGregor a fight at UFC 300 to no avail. The big one was they were trying to get Conor, but he's not going to be ready by then. From the sounds of things, despite what Conor McGregor said, he might not be ready to fight in June either. While speaking to media members backstage at the post-fight press conference, Dana White shed light on where things stand in regards to McGregor's return.
No. When Conor's ready to fight, we'll announce it. That's what we do.
Although the fight may not be official just quite yet, shortly after McGregor's announcement, Michael Chandler indicated that his team is in contact with the UFC. At the same time, he also made it clear that while things are not finalized, he was starting fight camp for the long-awaited bout. Now, let's shift gears and take a look at UFC fight updates. After an action-packed night of fights in Canada for UFC 297, let's take a look at some UFC fight updates, starting with another change to UFC 298 on February 17th, with Ikram Aliskerov out of his scheduled fight. As a result, Anthony Hernandez and Roman Kopylov will collide in a middleweight bout with all the makings of a fight of the night contender. Hernandez will be looking to extend a 4-fight win streak that most recently saw him finish Edmund Shabazian, while Kopylov will look to extend a 4-fight win streak of his own that saw him go 3-0 in 2023 with 3 straight finishes. The following month, at the UFC Vegas 89 card on March 23rd, Billy Quarantillo and Gabriel Miranda will compete in a featherweight bout that will see Billy Q look to build on a win over Damon Jackson, while on the flip side, Miranda will look to build momentum on a September victory over Shane Young. The event will take place at the UFC Apex and will be headlined by a bout between Amanda Ribas and Rose Namajunas. With the UFC's 2024 schedule in full swing, expect more fight announcements in the weeks to come. Next, let's take a look at UFC referee breaks silence on Backlash. On Saturday night in Toronto, Arnold Allen and Movsar Evloev opened up the pay-per-view portion of the UFC 297 card with a 3-round war. The contest saw Evloev pick up a unanimous decision to keep his unblemished record intact. However, it wasn't without controversy. Late in the fight, Arnold Allen used the clinch position to unload with a series of knees while backing Evloev up against the cage. At the same time, the undefeated contender was attempting to touch the canvas in order to be declared a grounded opponent. After Allen's knees landed, referee Mark Goddard paused the fight for the infraction, sparking quite a bit of confusion. Following the event, ESPN's Mark Raimondi clarified Goddard's decision on social media, writing in part, "In Ontario, the original rule is used for grounded fighters, prior to the several changes that have been made in other jurisdictions over the years. Weight bearing does not matter." Later on, referee Mark Goddard then responded, defending his decision-making during the fight. He wrote, "Correct and on the ruling is deemed as fingers down constitutes grounded. I let first 3 play out and 4th is where I called for neutral separation and not an unfair deduction. We also did not have any time replay. I respectfully work with what I have and apply common sense. Thank you." As many members of the MMA community pointed out, with various commissions adhering to different rules, things get confusing for fans and fighters alike. Next, let's take a look at Ian Garry reacts to UFC 297 fights. There's certainly no love lost between undefeated welterweight contender Ian Garry and former middleweight champion Sean Strickland, with the former champ taking aim at Garry's wife in the past, and the Irish contender firing back shortly after. Given that Garry had previously indicated he would be interested in potentially making the move up to 185 in pursuit of a fight with Strickland, the Irish contender was keeping an eye on how things played out on Saturday night. In a video posted on social media, Garry showed footage of himself watching the highlights of the fight, criticizing both fighters for their sloppy striking.
I'm watching the highlights of the Sean Strickland and Plessis fight, because I hope Sean gets sparked and conscious. Just sloppy boxing. Look, swinging. Look at this. The state of this. Zero technique, just slugging it out now. Oh my god, I feel like I'm watching 2 amateurs fight. Oh my god. Oh my dear Jesus Christ. If I ever have a fight like that, please tell me to retire. Yeah, there you go. Thank you, Sean Strickland. Now that fight's even more available, Chris.
For Garry, his next step will be a fight with Jeff Neal at UFC 298 next month. With the bout being the toughest test of the young contender's career, it's safe to say that a win would certainly put him in a position to compete against a top-ranked opponent. However, from the sounds of things, Garry could surprise everyone and decide to pivot and pursue a grudge match with Strickland at 185 pounds after his loss on Saturday night. Next, let's take a look at retired UFC fighter returning in 2024. In the co-main event of UFC 297, longtime UFC veteran Raquel Pennington defeated Mayra Bueno Silva in a 5-round affair that saw her capture the UFC Women's Bantamweight title. With her win, Pennington ushered in a new era for the women's 135-pound division, while fulfilling a lifelong dream. After the fight, former champ Amanda Nunes, who was seated cage side for the event, spoke with Megan O'Leary to discuss Pennington's win. In a shocking move, Nunes hinted that the door is still open for her to return to the octagon.
I'm still young, fresh, like we never know. So we have a lot of things to do. I gotta figure out a bunch of things at home still, what I'm gonna do, and see what happens. I don't know, like we never know. So I'm a fighter, this is my job, and I love this so much. And I don't know, but like I enjoy as well, being in the gym every day and have a normal life, stay home a little bit, be lazy, because to be lazy as a fighter is like very hard. So, but I'm still healthy, and powerful, smart, think like a champion. You know, I still feel a champion. So we'll see.
While Juliana Pena is expected to get the next crack at the belt, Nunes driving with her family for 4 days to Toronto to watch Pennington and Bueno Silva compete could be very telling. With the door now open for a return, it'll be interesting to see if Nunes decides to step through the door in the future. Joe Rogan sends a warning to Dustin Poirier about his next fight with Benoit. He's also concerned with Dustin after his last fight ended in a head kick knockout. Here's what Rogan had to say to Dustin.
Dustin Poirier and Benoit Saint-Denis. That's the big fight. That's the big fight. That Saint-Denis guy is a killer.
Savage,
he's
the
such a
fight.
killer. I'm telling you, that Benoit Saint-Denis is next level.
Oh, no, I'm all up on his French nuts.
Bro, he's got furnaces going on in his eyes. You look in that guy's eyes, there's hell going on behind him. So him versus Dustin is very exciting. And bro, Dustin better
Kudos
be
to
ready.
Dustin.
He better be ready to go.
Dustin likes himself a slobber knocker.
He does, but you better be ready to go with that guy. You got to be ready to go because he's going to try to make a name off.
Top comments. Fair play to Dana. He hasn't been thrilled about having Strickland as champion, but still even admits Strickland won. Far too much credit given for takedowns that result in nothing other than the opponent immediately getting back to their feet. How about damage done? If it hadn't been for the headbutt, it's likely Sean would have looked almost untouched, compared to DDP unable to see. I had Sean winning 1, 2, and 5, but it was so close could go either way. Need to do a rematch because close fights like this, both sides will always say it's a robbery. We see it every time. No one hopes that Jones fights Stipe. Make sure to leave a comment and you might get featured in our next video. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications to never miss any MMA news. Check out our video from yesterday if you missed it. See you tomorrow.